Howdy YouTube. Welcome to another episode of DIY Revival Garage. I'm the host, Nathan. And in this episode we're doing part 3 of the engine build. This is going over the bore measurements, and which I'll show calculator, and then measuring pistons. I left one that I was going to measure and show on camera, but I got ahead of myself and went ahead and hung it on a rod. Hopefully that doesn't matter. These pistons seem to be fairly consistent. When I measure, I'm using the edge here and the flat and there's these little itty bitty dots on the side. So flat there, puts the point in the middle of the dot, give them a quick little squeeze, and I'm going to guess my micrometer needs to be zeroed because that's a little on the off on the measurement. So let's go slide that back down to 0. Yep, -11. I'll bring that back out. And bring it back in. So I'm getting 4.388 when I measure using the flat edge of the piston here, and I measure both sides, and it gives me an idea of where the piston skirt is. Now usually if you measure at the end of the skirt, like here to here, I'm also getting like a 4.388. Sometimes they'll taper out a little bit, and this number out here will be different than down here. The head of the piston, the box actually tells you bore diameter 4.3900. And the major axis is 4.3878 plus or minus 5 hundredths or thousandths. So if you measure closer to the top, a little harder to get accurate because you don't know if you're still straight across. But it's a little bit narrower up here on the top. So I went ahead and measured all of them because I figured you didn't want to really see me do 8 of these on camera. I was pretty much getting all the same numbers on all of these. This one here was the one oddball that every time I measured, check, re-zero, remeasure. It was coming out at 387, which is very, very tiny difference. I mean, we're talking what, 10, 100,000, 1,000ths. So that could just be me. Could be that one was colder. It is like 37 degrees in my garage. Silverlight comes with prevent pin galling. They tell you to lube the pins. This doesn't have a lock ring. This happens if it has a C after the part number. It's a coated skirt. The gray on here is the coating. It adds a little bit of like an extra thousandths. It's supposed to wear off though. At least that's what I believe I've read someplace else. But yeah, right there. 0.001 larger in diameter than uncoated when measuring over the coating. And then they talk about if they has a suffix H on it. So these happen to be an H and a C. So they're H being hyperuthentic, C being coated. There is some... No, actually, that's the finished bore stuff. The H part is down here on the bottom. Hyperuthentic top ring gap procedure. So the H suffix. You look up the spec on your ring end gap. Ring end gap, like here in this picture, is the distance from in between end and end on a ring. These are an really old piston, and when it's not in a cylinder, the end gap is, you know, half an inch or whatever the size of my index finger is. But when it's in a cylinder and it's square, the end gap closes up. And you want to measure that end gap. So basically you take a piston, stick your rings in the cylinder, oil them up a little bit, square them up with using your piston, the head of a piston and the cylinder. And then using feeler gauges, you measure your end gap, and in this case, you measure your end gap, and they tell you to add a 40% increase in gap on the top ring. So I'll have to look up what the 460 end gap is. I haven't looked yet. You'll notice I went and hung 4 rods. I did that off camera because I wanted to figure out how to do it correctly using MAP gas, propane, butane torch, heating up the end and sliding it in. I wanted to do that, try it a couple times off camera. I mean, I know I'm a hack, but I want to at least look like a semi-professional hack. So I did 4 just to see how difficult it is. And I will admit, you gotta move quick when you're in a cold garage because these will cool off really quick. Or I'm just not getting them hot enough. But I got them on. And they're sliding back to side like the old ones did. So I don't think I screwed anything up. And if you'll notice, I still have the bearings in here, but here's your bevel groove. Here's your notch. And this is all the passenger side, 1 through 4. Apparently I need to flip a rod cap around. We'll probably fast forward through this one in editing. Not sure when I did that one, but here we are. So bevels here, I went and dotted all the pistons. So orange dot is where the notch is. So, and then the next set of rods are going to be the driver's side and the bevels. I went ahead and numbered them, even though they're numbered on the caps, but so I'm kind of doing it in order. And then I orange marker reminding me what side I need to do. So on these are going to be orange away. These were orange to orange, and these are going to all be orange away. So orange dot on one side, the 3 marks on my rods on the other side. I don't think I'm going to try to heat them up and show one right tonight. I'll probably do that in the morning. I was going over to start. I came out here to do the math, find out where my average bore size is, which is basically taking my measurements at the. When I took my measurements off camera and explained it to you, I think in maybe episode 2, but measured up and down, front to back, at the top of the cylinder, in the middle of the cylinder, and down at the bottom of the cylinder to get my 3 reference points. Kind of checking for cone taper, cylinder wall taper, make sure it's still cylindrical. I probably said that wrong too. And doesn't have a taper. So I got my measurements. Okay, that shows me I don't have a taper, and it seems to be fairly square. And then I add all those numbers up, get the total, divide it by 6, and I'm like 390.3, 389.75. So a little tight on number 2. 390.2, 391.3, a little big. 390.7, good there. 389.4, so this is my tightest of them, which I plan on using that one piston that seems to might be a little bit smaller than the others. So I numbered that as number 6, and I'm going to throw that 387 piston in the 389.4 hole. This is my largest of them all at 392, which was this one here, 7, and this one was actually the one that had a little bit of surface rust on it, so this one's been cleaned up the most. And then the last one's 390. So I'll still need to pull the crank out. I haven't done it yet. You can kind of see it down through the cylinders. Pull the crank out, run the hone through it again, run the hone, smaller hone through the lifter bores, wash everything down, and then I'll show you measuring ring gap. I'll probably do most of those off of camera and then show you 1 or 2 cylinders on camera. And that'll probably be the second half of this video. I've been trying to upload video 2 or episode 2 all day today. It'll get 90% uploaded, and then I get an error message, and I've been working on it for 4 hours. I think my internet's just crap. But it could just be a software issue too. This software did update for GoPro software, and I'm back again. We're going to continue with the camera shutting off at, looks like about 15-minute range. So I'm going to guess something's listening to me, and when I talk bad, it shuts about their operating system. They want to shut it off. Conspiracy theory. I'll put my tinfoil hat back on. So for this evening, not a whole lot. Just I figured I'd bring you up to speed on what I was working on today. Doing the math, measuring, and then hung 3 rods. Actually, I could go ahead and do one now. It's going to be hard. I'll have to figure out how to set you guys down on the tripod or something. So they talk about oiling the pins, and they tell you not to use assembly grease, which surprised me, but I guess grease being hot and whatnot. So pin slides out really nice and good. Let's see if I could get you guys set up on a tripod. So hold on one second. I'll probably edit all this crap out. I'm using my small tripod instead of the big one that I have. Okay. We'll do number 5. Orange away, so it's got to go in this way. And of course my basically just heat the rod with the torch. I found it took about 3 minutes of heating per rod to get it so it starts to glow a really dull glow orange. Hard to pick up on the camera and the light. Just kind of heat it up, don't hold it too long in any one spot. Not exactly exciting television, I'll tell you that much. But hey, you'll get to see me do it. And now that I've done this is the first time I've done this way anyway. I've done a set of rods correctly with a rod heater. That was back at Auto Shop, way back like high school, early college years. And just get it nice and hot. Don't burn yourself. So far I haven't, but now that I said that, I just jinxed myself. And there you go. And then a little bit of oil, help cool it down. Orange dot is over here. Orange dots and the bevel are opposite side because this is cylinder number 5. And there you go. I only got to do this 3 more times. Probably not very exciting TV. It'll start flopping around and get easier to spin as the pin cools down. So when you press the pin through really quick, it heats the pin up, and then it kind of gets a little hard and doesn't want to rock very well. But as it cools down, it'll move around. And these don't have to be perfectly centered, but this one's actually one of my better ones. The very first one that I did, I was almost all the way up against one side of the piston. I didn't push in fast enough, hard enough. So what I did to correct that was I kept heat on the rod. Unfortunately, you're also heating the pin, but I kept heat on the rod. Because, like, if you see, this one here is my one where I didn't quite fix this to get it centered. The side sticks out a hair, but it's not going to interfere with anything. But what I did was heat up the rod a little bit and then applied pressure and got it to pop. And I made popping noises, which was sketchy as all hell. And I got it closer to where it needed to be, but I didn't want to push my luck, so I kind of stopped while I was good. And then I actually stuck that piston in this piston in the cylinder, and through that's how the rod got backwards. Threw this on the crank, hand tight, just finger tight, and then turned the crank and had to go up and down and make sure it didn't have no interference anywhere, and it worked just fine. So there we go. And I could continue. A little bit of oil, a little bit of oil. Basically in and out, rotate so the oil coats everything. Slide the piston back. Grab another rod off the shelf. Turn your torch back on. I'm probably going to use a whole bottle by the time I'm done with this. About time for a new trigger. And proceed to heat up a rod. And make extremely boring TV. But hey, if you want to watch me do this one and 2 more, maybe potentially burn my hand or something, I guess I could go ahead and film it. But more than likely, I'll do this one so you see me do 2, and then just finish the rest off camera. And then tomorrow I'll come out and film, maybe doing a ring gap. Measure some ring gaps so you can see ring gap. Another trick to make this a little bit easier would be to stick the wrist pins of these pistons in the freezer. But seeing how it's 37 degrees out here in my garage, it's probably, and they've been sitting out here, it's probably close enough. I don't think an extra couple degrees getting it down to 0 or 32, or I don't have a sub-zero or anything like that, is going to matter a whole lot. So I already have the cold working in my favor for when it comes to the wrist pins. I just don't have the cold in my favor when it comes to trying to get these pistons pressed into the rods, because it cools off quick. It doesn't take long. The heat's just now starting to travel down the rod to where my hand is, so I know I'm getting close. So I kind of base it off of time, and then what I'm feeling in my thumb and index finger. There we go, another one done. Not bad, could have been pressed in a little bit further. There's my bevel away from my orange dot. So orange dot is my notch. Orange dot on the back side is my bevel. And pistons 5 through 8 are bevel away from orange dot. That's my biggest fear of doing this, is screwing up and then having to press them out. And then heat them up, redo it, and try and hopefully not damage a piston. And that's my biggest fear of doing this. Is it worth the savings? I don't know. I don't even know what they charge to hang rods anymore. But all I'm using is fogging oil for my for my lube, and apparently I'm running low on fogging oil. Hopefully I have enough left for the last cylinder. We'll find out. PB blaster, maybe. We could try that. A little more flammable. Good TV. 20 minutes just to watch me hang 4 rods. Maybe I'll just make this episode 3 and keep the video upload shorter. Episode 2 is about an hour long, 59 minutes, if I can get it to upload. Living in the sticks is nice, except for when it comes to your internet service. I ain't gonna guess if I have to go into town and find somebody's free Wi-Fi that has a good, better upload speed, so be it. I guess I'll be making a trip into town. Sounds like I'm getting low on propane too. Good news is I have more propane. I don't have any more fogging oil. I like to probably use penetrating oil or something. Bevel away. PB Blaster to the rescue. So, bevel opposite of my orange dot. Cylinder number 8. I guess I'll go inside and jump on the old interweb, look up 460 piston ring end gap, check multiple sources, don't go with just the first one. I mean, I know, Allstate says so. It's on the internet, it must be true. There's a lot of bad information out there. The easiest way to do that is to look at the source of where you're getting that information and then compare it to a couple other sources. And hopefully all the sources that you use give you the same information, and therefore it eliminates any confusion. I don't happen to have any shop manuals with 460 specs in it, but I'm sure I could find it online. And then I'll come out here tomorrow. We'll go over piston ring in gap. More exciting television. And go through, measure in gap, play musical cylinders with piston rings. Hopefully we don't have to file anything, but I did just get I'm just using regular cast rings, nothing high performance or fancy. Those tend to be a little bit easier to file, and I only have to file the top ring. I don't have to file ring 2 or the oil control rings. So we'll hang some rings on some pistons. Some of you guys that have done this will know this just as well as I do. Heck, some of you guys probably know this better than I do and think I'm some sort of weird hack. That might be true. So far this seems to be working. Starting to get warm down here by my fingers. Alright. That one may be a little too far, and I'm going to have to heat it up and try to get it to come back. Can't get them all right. So, there you guys go. 4 rods. Yay. And we'll call it an evening and a night. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you for either episode 4 or continuation of this episode. If you like, click like, subscribe, share. Like I said, this is a hobby, and hopefully you guys are gaining some information from this and enjoying. Have a good evening.